So we're going to be looking at what is a text. So it would be a good idea if you have Unit 7 of the handbook open, 37 to 38. And then we'll be looking at reading skills in Unit 8. So 7 and 8 together. And 11 to 11:30 we'll have a break. Then we'll do a pre, while, and post lesson. And we'll analyze that lesson afterwards.
Could you please repeat the page?
Well, can you see it? It's on the screen. Or can't you see?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so it looks like this.
All right, thank you.
So the first thing is to just look at these kinds of texts and decide which are written and which are spoken. And which can be both. So then I'd like you to write W, S, or B on the lines. So this is why you need your handbook open, yeah? So you can write on it. And we'll check our answers and discuss the answers, the questions that follow. So I'll give you about 6 minutes to individually write W, S, or B on the lines, okay? Do this on your own, and then we'll compare our answers. By textbooks, we also mean like course books, like students' course books.
Can we write both written or spoken?
Well, that one it would be B. If it's both, then you write B, okay?
B.
Okay, if you need to check any words, check them in a dictionary. Timetables is like schedules. Use your Cambridge dictionary if you're not sure of anything. All right, time's up. So I'm going to ask Pam to tell us about your first column. So calendars, instructions, conversations, dictionary entries, forms, letters, emails, etc. Can you just share with us what you share your screen and show us what you have in that first column?
Here it is. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so instructions. Yeah, conversations would be spoken, wouldn't they? Dictionary
Yeah.
entries would be written almost always. Yeah, forms written, letters written, emails written. Personal introductions, yeah, could be both, couldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could be posted online, but they could also be face-to-face, spoken. Textbooks are written, postcards are written, invitations could be both, yeah. Entertainment guides usually written, advertisements could be both, yeah. Especially if they're on the radio.
Yeah.
And notices. What do you understand by notices?
Mm. I thought it was like noticias.
No. No, it's not that.
Okay.
Because that's, yeah, be careful with your Spanish, yeah?
Yeah, that's news.
That would be news.
Yeah.
Let me just show you in the dictionary. I'm going to stop sharing a second. Yeah, just careful with your Spanglish.
Yeah.
It's a piece of written information on paper, on a board or a website. So it's usually written.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a notice about the proposed reorganization of the office notice boards. Yeah. So don't confuse it with noticias.
Yeah.
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 Spanish. Okay, great. But the rest I agree with. Elisa, can you tell us about the second column? What did you have there?
Yeah.
Can you
also,
share?
I can share the screen. Yes, of course. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Timetables written, rhymes both, riddles both, stories both, diaries, I think both. I can record my diary.
Yeah.
Magazines and articles written, newspaper both, encyclopedia both, public signs written, maps written, travel brochures written, oral report spoken, tales both, and poems both.
Yeah. What about tails? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's all right to go for both, but I would say that tails are usually spoken because think of the collocation. What verb do we usually use with tale? It's usually tell a tale, and that's usually spoken. But let's just have a look at the dictionary.
Okay.
Tail. Sometimes you can just check what verb goes with it to guess. A story, especially one that might be invented or difficult to believe. He told some fascinating tales. Yeah. So could be written, but it's more likely to be spoken.
Thank you.
Karina, can you give us your ideas for the third column, which is catalogs, anecdotes, and so on? Please share.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah. Yeah, so catalogs would tend to be written. Anecdotes, possibly more likely to be spoken than written, but it could be both. Yeah. Biographies written, warning signs, yes. Because a sign has to be written, doesn't it? Rules and regulations. Yeah, I would say written more than spoken. It's just when we codify something and make it into a law, it's usually written, isn't it?
Yes.
Whereas recipes could be, written, menus written, food levels written, restaurant reviews, yeah. Tickets, yeah. Personal notes, yeah. Although it could be both, couldn't it? If you make personal notes on sometimes you can make audio notes, can't you?
Yeah, you're right.
Travel guides, written, yeah. Horoscopes could be both, yeah. They could sometimes be on the radio, right? And descriptions of photos. Could be both. All right.
Okay.
Now, what do learners need to know to be able to understand the text?
The function of the text.
Right. Well, yeah. What's the purpose of the text is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that implies they know who the writer is, right? And who the speaker is, or who the listener is, and who the reader is. Or who the reader or listener is expected to be. All right, so this is pretty important when we're working with text. This aspect of knowing where and when the text occurs, who the writer or speaker is, and to whom he or she addresses, why it's important for the reader or listener to read, listen, or interact with the text. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we're going to look at some examples now. And I'm going to give you a text each, and I'd like you to analyze them. The first one that we'll do together, it's the Cipro. So question is here, this is the medication here. Question is, where does the text occur? Who the writer or speaker is? You don't need to write this down because it's on your worksheet here. Who is she addressing? The person receiving. Why is it important for the reader or listener to interact with the text? So let's discuss number one together. Where would you see this? is it on a breakfast cereal packet?
I
No,
think a pharmaceutical entrepreneur write this for that it is information for the consumer of the medicine.
Right, exactly. So it's on a maybe a pharmaceutical package, right?
Yeah.
So who's the writer? Because it's obviously written.
the laboratory.
Right, yeah, the producer of the medication. Who is it addressing? Karina, can you help us with that one?
The person taking the medication.
Yeah, the consumer, right. And why is it important for the reader to read or interact with the text?
So they know how they're gonna take the medication correctly.
Right. What happens if they get it wrong?
They can
An
have
overdose, maybe,
It could overdose, couldn't they? Yes, great.
or maybe an allergic reaction.
Could get an allergic reaction. Good. All right. So I'm going to give you one each. So Pam, you're going to answer the same questions about number 2. So Karina, number 3, and Elisa, number 4. Okay, I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to study them and try and answer the questions. Just note down your answers. Doesn't have to be full sentences. Just short notes. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes starting now to think about it. Let's start with Pam. So tell us where and when the text occurs, who the writer is or speaker is, and to whom he is addressing it, the message. Why is it important for the reader or listener to read or listen to the text?
For the first question, when or where the text occurs, it's a phone call.
Right.
Second question, who the writer speaker is. There's a name, Carol Hardy. She's the speaker. Then for the third question, to whom he, she addresses, to whoever is calling her. And for the last question, why is it important for the listener to listen or interact with the text? Because they know they called the right person and they will know that she's not available at the moment.
Okay. Did I miss anything here?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, on to the third one. I have floor 7, please. Thanks. So, Karina, tell us about this one.
So for number 1, where or when the text occurs, thinking like maybe in a building.
What, like a lift or elevator?
Yeah. Like a hotel or something that has some floors, a lot of floors.
Elevator, right? Yeah. So it would be, we don't often see these now, but it could be, there could be an elevator assistant. It could be automatized. It could be like a artificial intelligence or something, couldn't it? Yeah, in a hotel, possibly.
And then for number 2, who the writer speaker is. I got the attention that someone is like delivering something. So that's why they're asking like what floor is it?
Okay, so it could be the rider
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the lift itself, maybe it could be speaking, or it could be the lift operator, the elevator operator, plus the rider. Okay, and what's the final one? Why is it important?
Why is it important? Well, to know where they need, where the things that they need to be delivered, like what floor.
Right, so it could end up on the wrong floor, right?
Yes. To have the correct floor.
All right, so now let's move on to Elisa. What is this anyway? What do you think it is?
It is a personal note.
Well, it's really like a to-do list, isn't it?
Yeah, a to-do list, yes. I think the author is the same that the address person.
It could be, or it could be to the husband, right?
Yeah.
So
And
same person or spouse could be, or partner.
yes. I think it's to remember to do things.
So that's the purpose. What would be the importance of not doing them?
So they can remember and do the activities.
Okay, but some activities might go undone, right?
Yes.
And as a result, your electricity or gas stops working.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
Like you leave the kids at school, right? And then the teacher calls angrily saying, why don't you come for your kids?
Yes.
So yeah, it's pretty important, isn't it? As a communicative text, yeah? Either to self or to someone else.
Yes,
All
you're
right.
right. Yes.
All right, now let's have a look at some differences between written and spoken language. Have a look at the characteristics of written text and spoken text and write either a W or an S next to each statement. So this is on our page of the worksheet of our handbook, the next page. Task 3 it is. So you've got to decide. So when we're speaking, it's sometimes unclear when one sentence starts and another sentence begins. But when you're writing, it's usually quite clear because why? There are certain signals, aren't there, in the punctuation that indicate that it's a sentence. What signals can we see in punctuation? Look at this first sentence here, right? How do we know when one sentence starts and one sentence begins?
With capital letter and point.
Yeah, there's a capital letter, right? And these are the conventions of punctuation. So there we would say it's W. What about number 3, visual conventions? Is that spoken or written?
Written.
Yeah, because obviously in spoken, there's no visual conventions, unless maybe we're giving a talk or a presentation. And we might use a visual aid like a PowerPoint to support us, right? Oh, sorry, so it's writing, isn't it? Yeah, so no visual conventions would be
Spoken.
spoken. However, you could argue that things like facial expressions,
Yes.
yeah, are part of visual conventions, but obviously we don't have those if we're making a telephone call, unless it's FaceTime. Lexically complex and varied.
Both.
Written.
Written, yeah. Why? Why does writing tend to be lexically complex or more complicated in terms of the vocabulary range?
Because it is more planned than
It's
just having a
yes.
regular conversation.
Yes, it's more planned, so we can think about different vocabulary to put in there, don't we? But when we're speaking in real time, the vocabulary range tends to be narrower because we use the vocabulary that we're accustomed to. Yeah. When we're writing, we can look in a thesaurus.
Yeah.
We can look in a dictionary. Yeah.
Or someone could correct the text for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But well, I think that it depends on with whom you are speaking. Probably.
Yeah, but all things being equal, writing, and it's been shown through research. It's not just making this up. It's been linguists have demonstrated that statistically, writing is more lexically complex. Yeah, and there's ways you can test that. So it is scientifically shown that
Thank you.
that's true. Yeah. Whereas speaking tends to be lexically simpler, and you can resort to outside references to the context more. 7, grammatically more explicit. What's that?
I'm not sure.
Well, it's a bit like the last one about lexically complex and lexically simpler.
Writing.
Writing would be more explicit, yeah. We tend to use more precise grammar in writing, right? Because we don't have the contextual clues of me, for example, me speaking now with you.
Mhm.
All right, I can use other tools other than grammar to get my meaning across, right? But
I'll
when
get
you're
it.
writing, yeah, it needs to be more precise and explicit. So it's writing. Speaking tends to be simpler grammatically, less explicit. Relatively unstructured.
Spoken.
Spoken, yes. And requires a clear internal structure. Think about something like an academic essay. Yeah, where you have clear paragraphs, you have a thesis statement, you have topic sentences. So that would be writing. All right, so how can we use written and oral text in the classroom to develop the 4 skills? Write your notes in the box. So we can, let's do reading as an example. So how do we develop reading skills with text, I guess?
Using different kinds of text.
Sentences.
So let's do reading first. Do you know about reading skills? Have you heard of GIST?
No.
No.
Okay, that's what we call reading for general understanding. But we can also use reading text to develop. Oh, have you heard of scanning? Maybe you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skimming and scanning. So GIST is skimming. Whereas specific information, reading for specific information, is known as scanning. That's like reading quickly to get students to notice and pick out individual words or numbers or prices or dates. That's called scanning. Or reading for detail, which is more in-depth, intensive reading.
Can you repeat what is gist?
It's also known as skimming. And it's all about reading for general understanding. Later,
Okay.
later I'll give you examples of that. Okay. Now, when we're listening, we can use similar skills. We can have listening for gist. Okay, but it's not called skimming, because skimming is what you do with your eyes on the text. Yeah. But we can still listen to get a general understanding of a text. We can also listen for specific information. I'm terrible at writing with this. Specific info. And we can also listen for detail. And this could be regarding the speaker's attitudes, attention, intentions, opinions. Now, for writing, we can use model texts. Like, for example, emails, model emails, and we can get them to focus, the students to focus on things like the layout, paragraphs, things that make it cohesive. For example, conjunctions, discourse markers, things like, in my opinion, right? Things that make the text stick together. So we need to focus students' attentions on these features so that they can reproduce them in their own writing. With speaking, we can use dialogues and monologues, spoken dialogues, audios, and so on. And those are types of text, aren't they? Remember, oral texts are also texts. We can look at how the dialogues are organized. We can if it's a conversation, we can focus on things like turn taking. How do you know when it's time? It's your turn to speak. So you could focus on signaling. So signaling to the listener that the conversation is coming to an end. So you can like openings, closings. All right. So sometimes, especially students, think that we only really use text to develop vocabulary, or we only use text to develop grammar. But actually, there's lots of skills that we need to teach the students so that they can produce their own texts, especially in writing and speaking, and also be able to process reading texts and listening texts for information to get the most out of a text. And it's not just about knowing the vocabulary. You know, we need specific skills like just reading or listening for specific information, reading or listening for detail, and those take practice. So that's what we're going to be doing a bit, working a little bit on today is this part here. But some of this will carry over into listening. So we can use reading text to develop subskills of reading. Those are the most common ones. I would say the first three are the most commonly used. Intensive reading is like reading to focus on the language in the text. We'll come to that in future sessions. Reading for inference is a bit more advanced. Audio text can be used to develop similar subskills for listening. Yeah. Speaking involves listening and writing involves reading. This implies we can use oral and written text as models for the kinds of writing or speaking we want our students to produce, such as emails or conversations. And we can get students to analyze and replicate their structure. Any questions so far?
No.
Does that make sense to you, Elisa? You look a little puzzled.
No, I am reading. Thank you.
Karina, any doubts so far?
No, I'm okay.
All right, now. Let's move to the next page on our handout. So let's read this sentence and discuss the questions below. The boy was surprised because the girl was much faster at running than he was. So question, why was the boy surprised?
Because the girl was faster at running than he.
Well, is that self-evident? Is that also an automatic assumption,
Mm,
or is it a cultural assumption? Is it universal? Are boys universally faster than girls?
No.
no.
I mean, at the extremes they are, aren't they? Like
No, I
the
guess.
really, really well-trained athletes are the fastest ones are men, right? Even the women athletes, I mean, they take maybe it can take a lot of testosterone to be more like men, right, and run faster. But it's just that's the way it is, right? But in general, it doesn't necessarily follow, does it, that boys are faster? It's just kind of somewhat of a. We sort of need knowledge of the world, don't we, to know that it's not an automatic given.
But here in the sentence, it is in a specific case. This boy was surprised because that girl ran faster. It is not like a general position. It is. I think it's really
Okay,
clear.
but why does it follow then that the boy was surprised? Well, we
Because
need
it's
to know
because
more about the world, don't we? It's like if I say to you, a bachelor is an unmarried man.
yes.
You sort of need to know that in most cases a bachelor is indeed an unmarried man, but in some situations it refers to an academic qualification.
Yeah, we need to know the context.
We need to know a bit of context, yeah. So what do we need to know to understand this sentence fully? It's not just the cultural, societal context, but it's also do we need to understand some grammar? What grammar aspects do we need to understand?
I think that the key word is because. If you don't know what is because, you don't understand.
But what about things like the comparative?
Yeah.
Right, you need to understand how to make a comparative, right? Or
yes,
or maybe
right.
not actually produce the comparative yourself, but be able to have a receptive understanding of that grammar. But it's also vocabulary, isn't it? Okay. So we do need to understand at the very basic level letters, right? How the letters join together to make words, what the words mean. Then we need to understand the grammar of those words and the sentence structure. Like was being the past of be. And then these socio-cultural assumptions, knowledge of the world that we mentioned. That in most cases, well, in general, boys tend to run faster than girls, but it's not universal. Okay, so here's the continuation of the sentence. Then he found out that her mother had won a medal for running at the Olympic Games. All right, so maybe she then inherited this characteristic. Or maybe her mother taught her how to run faster. No, so This is where we talk about cohesion, coherence and cohesion. Reading also involves understanding the connection between the sentences. The second sentence gives us a possible reason why the girl was so good at running. We use our knowledge of the world to see the connection between these two sentences. That's cohesion. Sorry, that's coherence. Yeah, because coherence is all about logical understanding.
Can you project the sentence, the two sentence complete? Thank you. Thank you, Andre. Thank you.
So the second sentence gives us more information
Yes.
that makes the first sentence more logical.
Thank you.
So the grammatical links between these sentences or cohesion help us to see the connection between them. So what does he refer to in the second sentence?
To the boy,
The boy. What does her refer to?
the girl,
Yeah, so this is a cohesive, these are what are called cohesive devices. They help us, help the text to stick together. Huh? And making links between the sentences. Then is also a cohesive device because it indicates like a chronological step, indicating that one thing comes after the other. The grammar also provides cohesion. Notice the use of the past perfect here. When do we use the past perfect?
Something that happened before another thing in the past.
Very good. Yeah. So it's the past of the past, isn't it? So which came first? The girl running fast or the mother winning a medal at the Olympic Games? Which
the
came
mother
first?
winning the medal.
Yes, yes. So that provides grammatical cohesion. Okay, so let's now focus on the reading subskills. Now, when we read, we do not necessarily read everything in a text. What we read depends on why and how we're reading. We read different text types and we read for different reasons. All right, so let's look at some examples. So we've seen these earlier: calendars, instructions, dictionary entries, forms, letters, emails, textbooks, postcards, invitations, entertainment guides, advertisements, and notices. All of these kinds of text types are different from one another. They have different lengths, layouts, topics, and kinds of language. So learning to read also involves learning how to handle these different text types. So students get a familiarity between, Okay, what's the difference between an advertisement and a notice? Right, a notice gives more neutral information, whereas an advertisement is trying to sell us something, right?
Mhm.
So we can use our knowledge of the world. Often we take that from our first language, right? But because there are advertisements in English, there are advertisements in Spanish, there are notices in English, there are notices in Spanish. To some extent, we can draw on the students' knowledge of that, of the world, to help them read. Yeah. So remember, students, even you might think students are really, really basic, but they still have a lot of knowledge about the world they can draw on when they're reading or listening. Okay, so let's work on types of subskills. We need to turn our attention back to task 2. Yeah, on page 40. Okay, so I'd like you to match the type of reading subskill to its definition. I'd like you to please do this on your own, individually. I'll give you about 3 minutes, starting now. Let's check. So, Pam, what do you think reading for specific information or scanning is?
It's the paragraph that says when we do this, we don't read the whole text. We hurry over most of it until we find the information we are interested in.
Yeah, that's right. What does hurry mean to you?
Quickly.
Going fast. Mhm.
Yeah, it's going fast, yeah. So often when we do this type of text with students, we set the timer. Okay, so you've got to read quickly and you find a number that refers to the year that Prince William was born. Okay, so
Mhm.
read quickly and find. Number 2, how about reading for gist or skimming? Elisa, can you help us with that one?
Just number 2, I didn't find it. Probably where it says we read quickly through text to get a general idea of what it's about. For
That's
example,
exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Karina, how about reading for detail?
I chose sometimes, especially in language classrooms, we use text to examine language. For example, we can ask learners to look for all the word in a text related to a particular topic or work out the grammar of a particular sentence.
Incorrect. But this is a common misunderstanding.
I think it's reading for detail. If you read a letter or email from someone you love,
Yeah.
who you haven't heard from.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay. And what about extensive reading? Which one is that? What's extensive reading? Anybody?
This
Anyone help us?
involves reading long pieces of text.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's number 4, extensive. So what is intensive then?
Sometimes, especially in language classrooms, we use text to examine language.
Yeah. So first, maybe we get the students to read the text for general understanding, and then we want them to focus down on maybe the use of the past perfect
Mhm.
in the example like the one I showed you. That was a short text. And so maybe then I'd get you to identify, okay, where is the past perfect in this sentence? And what do we use it for? Then we can ask about the form. Had plus past participle. Then even work on the pronunciation. Okay, so good. So those are the subskills. Now you won't get this, you won't immediately understand subskills, so we'll go back to it later, don't worry. I'll give you a little practice test at the end on subskills. But I think what we should do now is have a quick demonstration lesson, just to vary things. Let me just go over. Yeah, those are the answers. Just if you need to take a screenshot or whatever. right, let's have a quick demonstration lesson. Okay, I'd like you to be the students. Okay, here's the introduction or lead in. What comes to your mind when you see this picture? Give me your impressions.
Civilization, not nature, buildings.
So nature is losing to civilization. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes,
Why?
because it's a time clock, and
Mhm.
in the top part is the nature, and when the time goes, we don't have natures, and we have like a city building.
Okay, so maybe time is running out for nature.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other interpretations, Pam or Karina?
Maybe that we have the resources and we can transform them to create new things.
Okay, so a more optimistic interpretation. Karina, what do you see?
I'm thinking that as time is passing, we're losing a lot of things, water, nature and all that.
On natural resources,
Mhm.
like water and forests and so on. Good. Okay, so like that. We need to switch back to our handbook, and it's page, according to me, it's page 41. So yeah, that's, in general terms, that's what our reading was about, the ecological crisis. Before we read, I'd like you to match the words to the definitions. So this is going to help you understand the text a little bit. If we do a bit of vocabulary. So I just want a couple minutes. Outer space, ecological footprints, developed country, environmentally friendly.
I'm done.
Okay, so outer space.
The physical universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere.
Great. Ecological footprints, Elisa.
The sum of an individual's or others entities' impact on the environment.
Good. Karina, developed country.
I put a rich country
Yeah, with
with
advanced
advanced
economy.
economy and technological infrastructure.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the opposite? So, for example, a poor country in Africa, like Mali, what do we call those? What's the opposite?
A poor country.
It's not a polite way of saying it, though, is it?
No.
What's the
Undeveloped
official?
country.
A developing country. Developing, so it's in progress, right? A developing country.
Developing.
Developing country, yes. Because it's in progress. They're moving towards developed status, yeah. And environmentally friendly, what's that?
Designed not to harm the natural environment.
Okay, good. All right, so that's the meaning. Let's work on the form. Ecological, developed, ecological and developed. Which parts of speech are ecological and developed? Are they nouns, adjectives, or adverbs? Ecological and developed, are they nouns,
Adjectives.
adverbs, or adjectives? They're adjectives, aren't they? Yeah. Environmentally, is that an adjective or an adverb?
It's an
Adverb.
adverb.
Okay, what does the adverb modify here? What is
Environmentally?
friendly? What does it modify? What does environmentally modify? Is it the noun, or is it modifying the adjective?
Adjective,
And-
because it's friendly.
Yes, friendly is an adjective, right? A friendly person, right? So it's the adverb modifies the adjective. Let's focus on the pronunciation. Where is the stress in ecological? How many syllables? Ecological. How many syllables?
5.
5. Where is the main stress?
Low.
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 La. So that's on ecolo. 3rd syllable, right? Developed. How many syllables? Developed.
4.
4.
Developed.
3.
3.
3.
Yeah, it seems to be 3, doesn't it? Developed. Because of this becomes like
yeah.
1 syllable here. Where's the stress? Developed. 2nd, right? Developed. Environmentally, where is the stress? Well, let's count the syllables first. Environmentally.
6.
Environmentally. 6, yeah. Where is the stress?
Men.
Ron.
Which syllable is it? The 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th?
The 4th.
Okay, how can you check? How do you know?
Environmentally.
Okay, but where can you check? How can you check this if you're a teacher?
Dictionary.
In a dictionary.
Yeah, let's have a look. So here it is. See it on the screen
Yeah.
now in the Cambridge Dictionary. Where is the stress?
And
In both British and American, it's on 1, 2, 3, 4th syllable. It's on the ment. Yeah,
mhm.
because it's, you see this little line here? That indicates
Yeah.
that's the following syllable is the stress. So it's environmentally. Let's repeat, environmentally.
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 Yeah.
So usually the sign is before the syllable.
That's right. Okay, so we've worked a little bit on the meaning, form, and pronunciation of some of these difficult, well, potentially tricky words in the text, all right? Now,
Mhm.
and so hopefully that will mean that you don't spend too much time getting diverted by these words. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I'd like you to read the newspaper article quickly and choose the best title. Now, I'm going to give you a Google form to do this. So I'd like you to put your answers into I've turned this to an online activity. So you can see how we could do this online. All right, so you've got to read quickly and put your answer. You've got to choose 1, 2, or 3. Do you choose 2 or do you choose 1 answer here? Elisa, you're going to choose 1 or 2 or 3? How many headlines are you going to choose?
We will live in outer. 1.
One, you've got to choose the best title, yeah? So the superlative suggests one answer, right? So you've got to choose one of those. Okay, don't choose other, just choose 1, 2, or 3, okay? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read and choose the best answer. Starting now. Please use the Google form, Karina,
Okay.
because I want to see your answers.
Mhm.
Can you confirm with a thumbs up that you have the Google form?
I have it.
Yeah. Karina, you have it?
I
Good.
have it.
Thank
Yes.
you. Go ahead. Time's up. Please submit your answer. So choose and then press next. Yeah.
All the answers until
No, just choose one.
no, you need the answers until question 6, question 8.
No, just choose one here and then press next. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So, what do you think is the answer for the first one? Let's check what your responses were. Okay, the actual answer is time's running out. Right? It's the best recommended answer. Because of the depletion of resources. Okay, so the best one here, actual, is number 2, but not everyone got the right answer. Some people said humankind as an endangered species and will live in outer space. No, that's not the right answer, living in outer space. It does say we'll need to find and colonize 2 planets. Yeah, but that is a very much a remote possibility, right? We need to live on this planet, I think, is the conclusion. Okay, now let's go back and let's go to the next part of the reading. Okay, so the next part is reading for detail. Okay, and I need you to mark the sentence statements true or false. Okay, if you think it's false, you'll need to correct it or tell us what you think the right answer is. So let's do the first one as an example. The WWF think we will all be living on 2 new planets 15 years from now. Is that likely? Is that true, do you think, or is it false?
False.
False, yeah, because it says this is clearly unrealistic,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the first paragraph, so it's false, right? Okay, so I'll leave you a few more minutes to do 5 through 8. Yeah, but be careful, you've got to read carefully. And you may need to have the text in front of you as you read carefully. Okay, I'm going to give you about 4 or 5 minutes more to do this. right, please submit your answers into the Google form. If you're not sure, just guess and then we'll check, okay? And then press submit at the bottom. Done?
Yeah.
Lisa, you done?
Yeah, I did it.
Karina? Done?
Yes.
All right. So one of the nice things about using Google Forms is that you can check to see how well the students have answered. How many responses have I got? Oh, quite a lot. There we go. So we all agree that that would be false. First one. Written by scientists, probably yes, because it was used, it mentions scientific data, so we assume that scientists wrote it. Sometimes when we're reading for information, reading for detail, we've got to make the best guess, haven't we?
Okay.
Right? Based on the implications of the text. Doesn't explicitly say it was written by scientists, but we can infer that it was. Reasonably infer. 30%, it's true, isn't it? Yeah. More than 1/3 of the natural world has been destroyed by humans over the past 3 decades. So yeah. Oh, is it nearly 30%? It says nearly 30%. Ah, it says more than 1/3, so that's 33%, right? So
Yeah.
it's actually false. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why we have to read very carefully, don't we? Intensively. This is why it's reading for detail. Pod numbers have fallen by about 50% since 1970. I would say it's more, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's gone from 264,000 tons to 60,000, so it's more. Yeah. Really making us think about the numbers here. There is none of the original forest left in southeast Brazil is false, because 7% is left. So most of us were right with that answer. The report blames countries like Japan and Canada for using too many resources would actually be true, because it mentions the report is particularly hard on the developed countries of North America, Europe, and Asia. But because Canada is part of North America, Japan is part of Asia. So yeah, it's reasonable to say that it's true. So only 22% of us got that right. Now, so read more carefully. America uses around 8 times of the Earth's resources than Ethiopia. It is actually false. It's about 6 times, isn't it? If you do the calculations. So the answer is false. 22% got that right. The report says we must look hard at the way we live if we want to save our planet. Is true. Correct. We all got that right. So reading for detail is kind of hard work, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So after we've done and got our feedback on the reading for detail, we can discuss the questions to react to the text. What measures can you take to reduce your own ecological footprint? Apart from recycling your water bottles, what can you do?
Recycle.
Like using public transportation instead of the car.
Oh, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Or a bike.
Or a bike.
Well, at my house, we separate the garbage.
Uh-huh.
And one of my daughters lives in Cuernavaca. They have less water, so they really take care of the water.
Right.
I,
Do they
I'm taking
reuse
a
it?
bath or
Yeah.
WC or
What do they do with the water that they save from taking a shower?
they take a shower like 3 or 4 days.
Really, only once every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and
Uh,
they avoid to wash clothes only if they're
do they reuse the water that they save from the shower? Do they put it into buckets?
yes, and they bought like a dry WC.
Sensible.
And they all the garbage that is classified, also the poopy, they use like another institution that pick up the garbage and they create new nutritive land.
What, using the organic garbage?
Yeah, also the puppy of the dogs. Yeah, for me that is new, but
Yeah,
I'm really trying to do that.
Yeah, I'm not
I think
sure.
it would be
I think it's a good
hard.
idea. I think it's all right to use rabbit poo or horse poo, but not dog poo. Is not really good for plants. But anyway, what about number 2? What can your country do to promote a more environmentally friendly attitude of its citizens? Any suggestions there?
Well, I know that where I live, they don't give out bags when you go shopping. You have to carry your own bag. So that's one way of starting.
Right, that's useful. Yes. So to stop giving single-use plastics. Yeah.
Well, at the school where I work, they're trying to be ecological. They pick up classified garbage or they reuse many things and give it to other needed people. But also when we have a celebration, parents use lots and lots of things to decorate everything. And when the celebration finished, everything goes to the garbage.
Well, like the plastic cups and the plastic
Yes.
plates. Yeah.
And
That could be avoided, couldn't it?
yeah, or the things to decorate, like printed things, balloons.
Yeah, parties in particular generate a lot of trash, don't they? Yeah, so having a more aware use of resources would be helpful for many people.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's examine now that we've just finished this demonstration lesson on reading skills. We're going to examine what we call the pre, while, and post lesson framework for receptive skills. So here are some extracts from a lesson plan. All right, but they're in the wrong order. So we've got to put them in the right order based on what you've just seen in this demonstration lesson. Okay. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to decide, and you write 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the stages on the right. Yeah, pretty easy. Give you about 2 minutes to read that.
What is OCFD?
Any ideas?
It's their open class feedback.
Oh, thank you.
Right, let's check. So teacher sets post-task discussion. Teacher arranges class in pairs. Teacher gives instructions. Students do task while teacher monitors. Teacher conducts open class feedback. What would that be?
I wrote 4.
4.
Oh, yeah, that would come at the end, yeah. This is the post stage. How about this one? Teacher sets first reading task. Actually, let's put them on this part here. Right? Part. Teacher sets first reading task. Students read individually and do task. Students compare answers in pairs. Students conduct open class feedback on board.
2.
Is that 1, 2, 3, or 4?
2.
I wrote 2.
Yeah, very good. T introduces topic of the reading text by brainstorming it.
I wrote 1.
1.
Yeah, me
One.
too. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's when we teach lexical items like developed countries, environmentally friendly, ecological footprint, outer space. We do the matching task. I cover the meaning, pronunciation, and form. So that's number 1. And that would obviously be number 3, the second reading task, reading for detail. True, false statements, right? So
Yep.
now we label the stages in task 3. So here we decide which are pre, which are while, and which are post. Okay, I'll give you another minute or so to put the labels into this stage here on the right, yeah? In this right-hand column. So the first one is going to be post, right? All right, let's check then. So number 2, is that pre, while, or post?
While.
While.
While, yes. Okay, so it's while is usually divided into 2. We've got a first reading and then a second reading. Right? And the first reading is usually more general and simpler, easier to do than the second one. So what do we have in number 1?
Pre.
Pre.
3. Yeah. And then
While.
but this is the second reading.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other things any questions that have occurred to you after looking at this pre, while, and post framework?
No, I don't think so.
Usually, the pre, the while, and the post are divided into 3 equal parts, right? So I did say we've got your teaching practice lesson is going to be for this is going to be number 2, teaching practice 2, right? And it's a 40-minute lesson, so we divide it into roughly 12. It's going to be 12, 24. So it's about 12 to 14 minutes each, right?
46, no.
Yeah. So maybe the post will be 12 to 14 minutes. You want to give the students plenty of time to do the speaking. And the first reading is going to be quicker because reading for gist is quicker, right? So maybe 6 minutes for that. Yeah. The actual reading for gist takes maybe 2 minutes, but when you get the feedback as well, it's going to be longer, and you also have to set the task up so the students understand the task. Maybe the pre would be 12 minutes as well, 12 to 14, because you're pre-teaching the vocabulary and you're also doing the brainstorming. That might take a bit of time. And the while, maybe 8 minutes. It's going to take longer. You notice the reading for detail took longer?
Yeah.
More intensive, isn't it? Yeah. So when you're planning a lesson, think about those aspects. Any other queries?
No.
Okay, before we go for break, I'd like us to do a practice task. It'll take us about 5 minutes, and then we'll go for a break. Just to test your understanding so far about these subskills. Then after the break, we're going to go into a little bit more depth of understanding with these subskills. But I think we're doing really well today, and we may well be finished an hour earlier than expected, so you can enjoy your day. Okay, so please match the instructions with the ways of reading A to F. There's one extra option you do not need to use. When you're done, I'll give you maximum 4 minutes. Put your answers into the chat.
When we're done, we have to write our answers here in the chat.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for your answers.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right. So, interesting. Elisa, why did you say number one was gist?
Because I can look quickly and for the word about pet.
Okay, but if you're looking in quickly in a text for a specific word related to pets, that's probably going to be either intensive reading, because you're looking for vocabulary related to pets like dog, cat, parrot, and so on, or it's going to be reading for specific information. Okay. But it's not general understanding, because gist is general understanding. So we can definitely say it's not reading for gist, number one.
Thank you.
So it's either intensive reading or reading for specific information. Well, I'm inclined to agree with Karina and Pam that it's intensive reading. Yeah, because it's like vocabulary, isn't it? All right.
Yeah.
Find words in the text that are pet related, like dog food or whatever. Yeah, so it's intensive, I think. So number two is definitely gist, because that's a typical activity. Gist reading activity is like, okay, here's an article, a news article. Read and choose the best headline for it. And often you give them a choice of headlines, like 3 headlines, and you've got to choose the best one. Number 3, read the article to find out exactly how the machine works. Is detail, yeah. Exactly. We all got that one right. Finish reading the story at home would be extensive. Correct. Read the poster to find the dates of Annie's, Sam's, and Julie's birthdays. It's A. Correct. Yeah, because we're looking, they need to read in the text and identify these dates, and that's a typical specific information or scanning task. Okay, well, we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, how about we do some more activities to deepen your knowledge of this reading subskills, which will involve reading a text and learning about them. So how about we come back in about 20 minutes?
Okay.
Then maybe we'll be able to finish earlier today.
Okay.
We're
All
doing
right.
very well because there's only 3 of us. It's the advantage of small groups. Okay, so return at